Alright guys, so we have two Carrier rooftop package units. Right now, it's a morning, it's kind of fresh. They're at 71 and 73 respectively inside, right? Does not feel hot whatsoever. They called this yesterday on a Sunday, and she was telling me it was 85 in the building. So we're at 71 today, 85 yesterday. Let's see what could be going on. Also, just to point out, a lot of water, right? Running through all over the side. Same thing over here. We actually have a drip, so we'll clear that out. And we'll start off by checking the temp and go from there. All right, guys. I don't know if you guys can tell the difference here. Kind of checking it before we turn them off. Then if we go to the next one, that's our suction line right there. Alright guys, hola, bienvenidos, welcome. And welcome back. We have, like I said, two ACs that are in question. I'm pretty sure it's going to be this one. We're checking temperature. We're just getting a visual all around, right? Take note of water where it's here and there because it's a dry. It hasn't rained. As in, there should be no issue. All the drains are hooked up. So we're going to take these apart and we're just checking temperature at the supply first to make sure that they're even blowing cold air. So then let's check that real quick. So the one in the back is at 67. That's a little too high. And as it's getting warmer, it's going up. Let's check the next one. And you can see this one's already going under. So I don't think we have an issue with the front AC. Our issue is probably the back. And she said it was 85 in the building. I'm pretty sure that one's gonna drop into the 50s, which is fine. All right, so removing all the panels, I got my field piece leak detector. I'm gonna shut this off. So when I was showing you the both of them, that one over there is sweating and this one is not. So that's the difference that I was telling you guys. So what we have here is actually something that I'm not familiar with. It's not acing up. So, but if we had an airflow issue, so pay attention to the visuals and pay attention to the sound as well. I don't know if you guys could hear it right before I shut it off, but the belt does not sound good. So I'm gonna open that up right now. I'm just gonna go quick through and kind of whiff through this. A lot of times, you know, they leak. We could have a restriction with these headers, whatever you call them, because we have, or distributors, we have a TXV on this one. So usually there's no TXV, but this one, at least on Carrier, but on this one, we have that as our first stage, and then we have a solenoid coil that's going to be a second stage. So it's one compressor, two stages. So I'm gonna check it, even if we were just calling on one stage, because I got to make sure the wiring's good, the two stages and everything. But it should be jumped out. A lot of the companies here, when they put them in, they jump them out, and I try to fix them as I go. But you know how that goes. So even if it was running on one stage, this should be cold, of course, or suction, and it's not. It's pretty dry. So we're gonna see if we have any pressure, if we have any built up pressure on the high side. But first, let's do a leak check. And what sucks is I don't see any oil. So this thing is, as far as like looking for oil stains, it's super clean. Not getting a hit even on turbo mode, right? Check the evaporator, condenser, it's not picking up anything. I kind of thought it was up in that corner, but no. I mean, I'll spray everything. I'll spray everything and see if we can double check. But apparently all of these are leaking. So right now, they're mostly closed. If we crack them. Right. Now, normally they're fine if you have the cap with the gasket. I mean, the gaskets could have been wearing out. Now this one, though, looks like it has oil. I kind of wiped some of it, but it looks like it has oil all the way going down. That's our supply for the evaporator there. So liquid line. And that one did spray out at me when I opened it. These other ones are okay, but they're all giving me a hit. See? I think even this one down here. Yeah. So I mean that's the for sure leaks, right? I might need to just put new caps, nylog. We'll fill it up. It's 410, we'll fill it up. We'll do another leak check and I'll do the bubbles and everything and just double check like the U-bends over here. But there's absolutely no oil. We just have the condensation from the evaporator and that's it. Like I was telling you about the sound, so it's not too bad, but could be a little tighter, so we'll get that. You can tell if something's a little louder than it should be because, you know, the next one over there is super quiet. It's a little louder, humming, rattling. I mean, you should know what after a while, you should know what is a normal sound and what is sounding bad. All right, let's take care of this real quick. Just gonna slide it down. Not gonna remove anything today. All right, to each their own. You know, some people like to take off the belt, put it where they need to, and then slip the belt over. I'll be honest, I've done both, but I think they want you to have the belt on and make your adjustment. So when you loosen these two up and the one in the back, sometimes it will just fall, but this one, there's a lot of tension on here, so I had to kind of scoot it down, and it went down slowly. Was able to get what I wanted. It's not super loose like before, you can tell, but that's good tension. So we'll start it up and top it off real quick. All right, so I think I only have to replace one of these that looks worn out, and it wasn't that one. I forgot which one it was, but that's the one that I think is leaking a little bit. These other ones look pretty dry. That one looked oily, and it did spray when I opened it. So we're gonna charge it up, fill it up, or as long as it's not flat, but it was cooling in the 60s, so I'm assuming it just needs a pound or something. So we're gonna fill it up, do another leak test, put bubbles. I'll probably do bubbles right now too before we turn it on, and we'll go from there. Now, I know I went to the memes posting kind of quite a bit lately, but I'll go back to the tips and setups and stuff. So we're charging with probes, right? So I'm doing a troubleshooting service call. I don't have my gauges on me. I have probes in my bag. That's the advantage of these. So we're gonna turn these on. I'm gonna check both high and low side. You need to check both. Make sure we don't have a restriction anywhere. We're gonna see if we have good pressures coming through. You can check the discharge if you want to, but that's gonna be the highest point. And for discharge, our liquid lines, you don't want any blowback, because even though these are not hoses, you still kind of get a spray depending on the depressor. If this starts depressing too quickly and you're still screwing it on, you're going to get a lot of refrigerant. Reduce refrigerant burn by getting one of these. It's like a little thumb screw. So that middle piece is all the way up when you have it out, and then when you screw it in, obviously it goes down. So for that reason, when you hook it up, there is no refrigerant coming out. So we will put it on like so. If I can fit it on there. Put it on like so, right? So nothing comes out, no spray, you didn't hear anything until I do this. So when it's all the way down, that lets pressure come through, and there's nothing, because it's already attached, we're not going to burn ourselves. I don't really use it for the suction side because it's always a low pressure, and if you do it quick enough, you're fine. I don't like to put them on both. Actually, I messed up. I don't know if the threads are messing up or what, but if we're charging with a probe, here's how you do it. I was aware that some people actually don't know this, so just posting it for those that are not aware, or if you don't have probes yet. All you need is a charging tee. I put the charging tee first, and then we're dealing with refrigerant, so you need a cutoff valve. So I have this ball valve adapter, and then my hose. If you have a hose that has one, even better, but that's my setup there. So this side does not have a Schrader, that's why we need the cutoff, but either way, doesn't matter. This side does, that's where my probe goes. So I can hook this up first, make sure I have everything lined up right. Right, we hook up, we're fine. Everything's snug. Hook up the probe to it. Now you want to have the T first before you're shut off. That way you can read the pressure of the system, right? You shut off the whatever you're charging, the refrigerant. Today we're doing 410. You shut it off to here. That way you don't, or you can control. You're going to add, you open it, you're going to stop, you close it off, and then we can purge the line up to here. Obviously you hook up here, this will push everything out this way. If you need to purge it, you can do that. Like I said, have the T first, that way you read on your probe, because this is all open to here, you're reading the system. So I can read the system with having this off, versus if you have it the other way around, because I've done it before, because when I was trying to figure it out, you're reading the charging hose, so you don't want that. Just like I said, for anybody who doesn't know. So we're gonna have it like that. Then we're gonna hook up to our 410. We're gonna open it, right? And then we're gonna flip it over. You invert it to get liquid. And of course you need to purge. So we're gonna purge right here. there's liquid, and then I'm gonna turn this on first before I charge anything. Or I need to check the pressure, but I'm pretty sure it has quite a bit of pressure in there. You have to run it first. So yeah, as you can tell by the pressures, and if you want, you can go by this charging chart. Let's see. Compressor, I didn't check that part, but if we're, anywhere here, actually, let's check that. All right, so I got it on the discharge now. The one advantage of probes, or two advantages, is you don't need a PT chart. Everything's in the app. But also, you need to have this cover on, this panel on your compressor compartment, unless the compressors are separate, because it's going to be high head pressure because you're not pulling through the coil. So that's the advantage. And right now we're charging. If we were just checking, it'd be closed. But we're charging, so it's only one hose that comes out, right? I'm ready to charge here versus having two hoses come out and my gauge is trying to hang them somewhere. So that's the advantage of the probes there. And then let's quickly, I forgot to charge my tablet, so let's quickly check on the phone what our discharge is, and we'll go by what carrier wants. All right, so I usually just go by what I understand to be the right pressures and temperatures. Obviously we go by saturated temperature, condensing temperature, instead of a number, or just a PSI number, but we're going by that, and that is strictly discharge, compressor discharge. And then outdoor coil, the leaving temperature. So what does that mean? It sucks up air through here, so this is incoming, and then it throws it out here, that's outgoing. So we're gonna check that. We are jumped out like a lot of these are that I find, so that's already that. They have a single stage thermostat, so I already knew that. Just verifying, because you do have to run it at full capacity. So I'm pretty sure I'm reading this the same way I kind of pictured it in my head, just by looking at the temperature from the probes, is that we are at 111, so 111 to 112, and then if we go down, we're supposed to be close to 400, like right under, like 380 or something like that. And I think we're closer to 350. I'll double check right now. I think we're right in the middle, so we're gonna need to get that a hair up, right? And if this temperature goes up, then we're gonna adjust accordingly, but we're right under what it needs. So I bet you anything, if I start putting a little bit in there, we're probably not passing correctly. And as soon as I put maybe like a pound in there, this will kind of fix itself, and then all that refrigerant will just finally go through, unless we have a restriction, but it'll go through, and then our line will just start sweating pretty quickly. I don't think it's going to take much. And if you're curious, remember we already purged everything out. We're just going to meter it in, right? Not full throttle, just meter it in, and then go from there. All right, why don't we make our life easier? I keep forgetting that I have bought these short hoses, so that way we can just control it here instead of me reaching in here. So I still have the same ball valve at that end. So just for the flow, I have that one off, and then I open the tank, and then purge out all the air, right? Then close it off. That way this is purged, and then leave this loose when that's open. Purge it out the other way. Make sure all the air is out. All right, I needed two hands there, but yeah, then you can just let it go through here. Let it rip. All right, so we're almost done. And we are over 400, which is really good because it's a super hot day. The sun came out, it got really hot already, so we're over 400, and we are in that 115 range that they want for the temperature, the air temperature. And once you kind of get that, and like I said, the longer you do this, the more familiar you'll be with, because I already knew, like, way over here in the low 300s were like, or 350 to 380 was a little low for the heat that we have right now. So I kind of already knew, but I'm using the chart just to kind of verify, show you guys. But once you are dialing in here, there's one more thing you want to look for, and that is a nice beer can cold suction line. So yeah, you need cooling for your compressor. You need to cool your compressor through the suction line. So it has to be cold. It can't be dry, it can't be warm or anything like that. So like I said, not even 2 pounds. To me, very minimal, especially 410. If it's leaking on the high side, you're gonna lose quite a bit. So to me, that's not a lot. A pound and a half. So let's put everything back together. You can also notice that there's no more rattling or loud sound from the blower motor. So we got that tightened up and good. And one more thing, don't waste your refrigerant, right? I have an extra long hose on purpose, but I don't want to lose all that. There's ounces in there. So we're gonna close off our tank, and then it'll suck up whatever's in here, right? Let it all go through. And then we can disengage here, and that's all emptied out. And just so I can show you guys this one, we're gonna disengage the depressor, right? So it's only whatever's trapped in here that's left. Now sometimes mine gets stuck. And it's hard to do one-handed. It's a little stuck on there. So let me take this one off. That's all that comes out. So yeah, there's no Schrader in there. We're disengaged. That means nothing, you don't have to worry about anything. So just take this off. It got a little jammed. And that's it. Highly recommend that for the high side. I've had this one for months now and it hasn't broken on me. Everything I use is in the tool link description. Check it out. So let's seal all these up. All right, so funny enough, I don't really get too many bubbles when I check them. Now I don't like to directly check them. I usually put the cap on loose and then spray them, but nothing's coming out. And then, like I said, those are suspicious to me. I am getting like bubbles here and there, so like, I don't know, we might have micro leaks, but it's also just very hard to spray in that area. So there are a couple that are kind of big in that area, so you know, we can do a check where we take it apart and get in there, see if they want us to do that, and then either, you know, give them the option for something like that, a micro leak, a leak seal, since I'm not getting a good enough hit and I can't find it, or like I said, we take it apart, do a proper leak test where I can get a better angle there. We'd have to take, you know, the top off here, take off the panel and get good access there because all this pipe's in the way right here. And then do the same thing for that. I've seen a lot of them crack over there, but right now nothing's bubbling up. Where they meet the suction line and the liquid line, you know, going up and into the evaporator and coming out. Sometimes those crack, I've seen that, but right now they're not giving me a hit, no bubbles. Maybe a couple of micro bubbles, but nothing alarming or for certain. So we'll see what they want to do. Oh man, it got hot. So it is working. It is at like 60 degrees. I had turned it off, so right now it went up to 70 and it's dropping down again. So I'll just make sure it's a cool temperature, nice split. Make sure all our vents are nice and cold for them. It is a hot kitchen, so it's not gonna cool in like a few minutes, so it's gonna take a little while. But as long as we have a good supply, we're good. And I actually forgot to do something on this, so let me show you real quick so you can do as I say, not as I do, you know, be better, be more efficient. All right, so this kind of turned into like a tips video if you guys haven't figured it out yet. And what you want to do, if you want to keep track of your weight, some people write as they use the refrigerant on the side how much they've used of the tank, you know, if you want to keep notes like that. But also you can use a scale before you go up and weigh it, right? And then weigh it when you get back down. Now with this field piece one, turn it on. So I've done I've actually done a video on this when they sent it out. This tear button is supposed to give you like the difference. So if you want to tear it off, go put some in real quick, come back, and then it'll give you, instead of 0, it'll give you the difference because the weight would have changed. So it's a good habit to remember to do. I forget to do it, but like I said, it's a good habit to pick up. Weigh it before, weigh it after. That way you know how many pounds you used, and you can charge. Just like if you're guessing, you know, let's say I guess that I used a pound or so, and I actually used like 2.5. I don't know about you guys, but you know, refrigerant, I think everybody's charging around $100 a pound. So if you don't weigh it and you're guessing, you could be costing yourself a couple $100 or so. Now, I haven't read the instructions, or I don't remember, but this one, if you tear it off and then turn it off and on, I think it resets. So yeah, you can't turn this off. But if you hook this up to your phone and just leave the phone, you know, don't foreclose it, right? You can close out of the app, but if you turn this off and back on, you know, as you go and do your call, charge up the system, the app does remember where you left off. So I don't know why the remote doesn't do that, but your app will remember that way. If you want to turn this off while you're working, because it's going to be a while, the app works a little bit better. All right, guys, I'm about 30 minutes removed. I was going to record myself dripping in sweat talking, but I just told the manager that I was going to check around. You know, all the vents are pretty good. 60 degrees. There is a weird section though, because I mean, it might be done for a reason. I'm not really an air conditioning guy. I'm more of a cooler, freezer, you know, refrigeration side. That's where I'm more comfortable. But we've had to move vents around and kind of balance a little bit of the air in some of these buildings. So in this one, there's not really any vents over by where their office is in that little corner, and it's kind of closed off a little bit. So like, it felt really stuffy over there. They have like 2 or 3 vents by the door, which I feel like is kind of redundant. And then the rest of the building seemed okay, but just in that area, we might need to add a vent or move over a vent a little further into that corner. Most likely they did not put anything there because it's a like washroom / laundry room. Maybe that office wasn't supposed to be there and they put it there. I don't know how that works, but it felt very stuffy. So you kind of have to take that into consideration as to what they think is hot or comfortable. So if the manager's in that office all day, it probably feels stuffy most of the time anyway. Especially right now, we've been in the hundreds degrees. So it's hot. It's really sunny. It got cloudy this morning. It felt really nice when I got there. Within an hour and a half or so, it got really hot. So they're going to start to feel it. The building did cool down. We did get around 60 degrees supply. It was dropping into the low 60s, just like the other one. I was using the one that was working as a comparison. And yeah, they were both working. On one of the ports, I did start getting bubbles on it. So we just sealed it, made sure the gasket's in there, put it on tight, put some Nylog to kind of seal it up a little bit better. And then, you know, that's a weird one. It's obviously a micro leak. That unit is 7.5 tons, and it is 12 pounds of refrigerant because it has 2 circuits, 1 compressor. So at 12.5 pounds, if I lost about a pound and a half, probably in a year, because we service these every 6 months. It's been at least a year, maybe more. I need to double check, but I think we did top it off, and it was fine. It worked fine. So at that point, they never called us back until this time. So now we're going to take a step further and go either with a leak seal or tear it apart. But it has to be a micro leak.
to where it's not going to be obvious. Now, if it was obvious, I would have stayed, even in this weather, done the repair and gotten them going, or we would have scheduled it. Like, in order for us to do a proper leak test, I need to recover the refrigerant, right? So we got to get all our equipment up there, recover, pump it out, and get it in a cylinder, and then we're just gonna have to pump that thing crazy high with nitrogen. Now on the label, it's gonna tell you what the max pressure is on either side, so just keep that in mind. But you're gonna have to get it up to that max pressure and then check. You can put a tracer, which just means you just flash a little 410 in there, or leave a little bit in there. Since we're taking it out, we'll leave a little bit in there. You know, leave a pound or two, and then fill it up with nitrogen. You're gonna bump it up, and the leak detector at that point should find it, or we'll get bubbles if we can properly spray it. Because when I sprayed it, I was getting suds, right? Because I'm hitting it from a distance. It's not a good stream. You got to get that on there clear, so that you know if it's bubbling, and it's not just from like it being sprayed on, you know, too far or too fast, because then you'll get the suds. It's like soap. So yeah, it's gonna be, you know, a little tricky. They might just opt for like a leak seal because it'll be cheaper, and honestly, every now and then that works. If it's that small of a leak, you're just gonna fill in whatever little gap it had. Now normally I find cracks on these, or I find the condenser coil leaking, and there's no trace of oil there. It was all dry, nothing obvious. So like I said, if it was obvious, we would have done it. I've seen rub outs, I've seen cracks, and I will get down and recover it and fix the leak and get it back working, but we didn't have that today. Yeah, I hope this video was helpful, even if it's a little disappointing. I have to go. We have an ice machine, I think, to install. And then right now I'm taking a lunch, and I'm gonna go check an AC that one of our guys having issues with.